The Alldus podcast is brought to you by Alldus International, supplying your expert AI and digital transformation staffing needs across the US and Europe. Today, you are listening to our ServiceNow series, where we interview the best and brightest of the industry to share their story, advice, and views on the exciting world of ServiceNow and digital transformation.
Hello everybody, my name is Mark Kelly, Chief Customer Officer at Alldus International. I hope you're doing really well today. You're listening to the Alldus podcast as part of our ServiceNow series. I'm very happy to welcome Oliver Stöckl. Ollie is the VP of EMEA at Brightfin. Ollie, very good to have you on the show today.
Hey, thank you. Thanks. Nice to have. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Ollie, before we jump into your role at Brightfin and some of the work that you do, tell us a little bit about your journey to now.
Oh, well, at best probably described as a bit of a roller coaster, right? So going to take you back a couple of years. When I was young, I wanted to become a lawyer. So actually went to the US, San Francisco, did political science for a year and started studying law and realized I hated it. So kind of looked at myself and thought, what do I want to do? And realized I want to work in the computer world. So went to Apple in Ireland for 2 years and worked for them and loved it, right? After that, went back, started working in law firms initially, doing IT management training. And from there took a role in the solution consulting area in an ITSM firm, actually, a ServiceNow competitor, although they probably didn't see it that way. And then from there on, moved on to more senior consulting and then into sales and then became the VP EMEA.
So for people that don't know Brightfin, tell us a little bit about Brightfin and how are you actually using the ServiceNow platform?
Sure. So Brightfin is a merger of 3 companies in the telecom management or technology expense management space. The platform that we use is the platform that was invented and designed by Mobicord, right? So one of the companies that merged. Mobicord uses the entire power of the ServiceNow platform. So we're built natively on ServiceNow. We're a scoped and certified application. For those that don't know that yet, listening to this podcast, scope means we basically run in a bit of our own sandbox within ServiceNow. So we see and have access to everything, but we can't break anything. And certified means that with every of our releases and every ServiceNow release, we get recertified to make sure the security works, to make sure the program and all of that works. And our goal is to help mid-market and enterprise companies manage their, let's say, as an example, one of the 3 major things that we do, manage their mobile phone estate. Whether that means, properly analyzing their carrier invoices up to helping the end users request things and having these requests run. Really successful. What I like best is that we're a company with a heart, right? So we care about our customers, but we also care about our team and our employees and people, which is pretty cool.
Tell us a little bit about some of the customer projects, and if you're able to maybe mention some names.
Sure.
If not, just some case studies. So for novices listening in, they can see some of the value that's being generated.
So I'll talk a bit about the customers that I work most closely with. I've been here now for 4 years. So for example, literally, I think the year before the first COVID lockdowns, we had a very cool event at the Adidas headquarters. So Adidas, one of our customers, been with us for about 5 years now. Great journey together, really learned lots together, and basically made sure that from the main countries that they have from a mobile phone perspective, those phones properly in the database, the invoices are correct. We optimize the spend on these invoices. Right? Let's say, Mark, you go to the US for 2 weeks. You're going to need roaming, right? What most people do when they're very conscious employees is that they'll book roaming before they leave. What a couple forget is that when they return, they need to disable that roaming. Now, this cost keeps adding up and keeps running, but you might, if you manually check your invoice, you might not notice it because you look at, hey, is it roughly the same as last month? right? So we make sure that that doesn't happen, stuff like that. One of our customers currently planning the next on-site at their headquarter event with is Henkel. Henkel is truthfully one of my favorite customers. They are live in about 35 countries. So it's a very global estate. It's great fun working with them. Really helped them from two main perspectives, and that was the goal from the start. One was please increase our end user experience, and the other was please help us save money, right? So we've accomplished both. We've got the workflows that are required to run an estate like this in ServiceNow, including all the approvals and everything. And as I said, we'd help them with spend as well. One of the white papers that we have out there that you can find on our homepage is in regards to Siemens, where we manage about 150,000 lines for them globally. And from a complexity perspective, one of my favorite customers that we have is Nokia. Given how long Nokia has been in the, let's say, mobile business world, they obviously have relationships with almost every carrier in the world. So we've literally implemented a truly global solution for them with more than 200 carriers in almost every country.
With a complicated company like Nokia or Siemens, where you mentioned they've got over 150,000 lines, how do you go about defining the problems that are most important to solve, and then also look at some of the low-hanging fruit that's available?
Sure, that's a very good question. So from my perspective, it is really, really important that you always look at the entire customer journey, right? And that starts with the day of the first contact. And it is funny, we're actually working on a white paper together with Henkel, and a story in there, true story in there that they really liked apparently was the first meeting they had with me, where they had invited me to come to their headquarters, and I drove up. And of course, I had a PowerPoint presentation ready and white papers and everything, right? Demo system. It was all on my laptop, but I had the laptop in my bag and actually walked in with a notebook. And so we did intros, and they were like, "Hey, don't you want to show us some PowerPoints?" I'm like, "No, I'm here because I want to find out what's important to you. Why are we speaking? You've invited me. You've obviously already done some research. You must know who I am and what we're doing. Help me understand how I can help you." And then it's important that that remains a key focus point throughout the entire journey. What problems do we need to solve for you, right? As I said, Henkel, for example, made it very clear. We want to be cost transparent. We want to avoid costs and save unnecessary costs. At the same time, it is critical to us that the end user experience gets better, right? So from literally a second meeting, we made sure that we always think about, hey, what KPIs do we have later on? How do we measure them? How do we make sure that we're successful against that? And I think that's how you need to drive every customer engagement.
It's very, very easy to use the PowerPoint because it fits so calmly into your hand, and you can show some really cool visuals and take them on the journey. But if you're going in the wrong direction, everybody's time is wasted. Yeah.
And I agreed with you, right? A PowerPoint, I think, is sort of like a mental aid. It helps you remember some text. It helps you sort of like remember your agenda. But that's the critical point. It's your agenda with your texts, when in reality, it should be about the customer. And I think PowerPoint really increases the danger of not listening. So I try to stay away from them as much as I can.
Yeah, it's also the challenge of you can very easily overawe the stakeholders because you're using acronyms, you're offering features that they don't need, but they need a strong good core foundation to solve their problem at hand, because ultimately that's where they're going to feel better about the journey and then get more value internally.
That's exactly it, yeah.
So after the merger with Mobicord in 2021, you've been building out the international part of the business. Tell me about the vision for Brightfin.
Well, so we talk about what we call a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal, right? So obviously we want to grow. We want to implement our solution with more customers, large customers, international customers, which is where I really see the value that we bring. the more complexity you have in an estate, right? And this can be mid-market to enterprise. I know plenty of German mid-market companies that are very diversified internationally. The less transparency you get, especially with these carrier invoices and this carrier management, right? So I think where we can bring tremendous value to companies is where we take that entire complexity off their hands and then simplify it and make it very easily readable from a user perspective, and then also put all the data into ServiceNow. So now you have one central location, right? Where if you're, let's say, the CIO and you need to go to the CFO to report on how the numbers are racking up, you know that everything is in your system and you can talk with authority to your CFO and say, hey, this and that.
When you look at some of the challenges in the ServiceNow ecosystem, Bill McDermott talks about kind of growing it to 250,000 within that ecosystem in 2025, 2026, to try to hit some of the aspirations that the company has. What advice would you offer to people coming into this space? And then from a mentoring point of view, what advice can people share and help those newbies coming in?
That's a great question. So if you look at ServiceNow and the growth they've had, a lot of that originally is sort of like them selling their ITSM solution and then building onto that. They now have an already very strong partner ecosystem. My advice would be take a look at that ecosystem. Find companies that sort of like match where you are in your business career, right? And then find something that excites you. Find something where you're saying, hey, what these guys are doing and the way these guys are portraying themselves, I really like that. That appeals to me. And then approach them. A lot of the companies in the ServiceNow ecosystem are really growing, right? I mean, it is a very growing environment. So reach out to these people on LinkedIn, right? So my approach would be, I go and figure out ServiceNow partner ecosystem and kind of work out what I want to do. And then from there, I go to LinkedIn and I reach out to these people, maybe watch some of their videos that they'll have on YouTube or wherever. And then really, I think it should be fairly easy to find something that you enjoy doing, that you love doing.
Simple advice, but it's very specific. And the community is so focused on helping and adding support. If you do know what you want and you're very clear with that, you will find people to help and support you, because people don't want
Absolutely.
you reinventing the wheel. So, Ollie, that was a question from one of our previous guests. Have you got a question for our next guest that we can keep the thread going?
Absolutely, right. So from my perspective, and we're coming from, as I said, mid-market and enterprise is where we focus. However, my question would be, what do you think ServiceNow could do to also approach the lower segments of the markets, right? To bring the big advantages that the platform offers to maybe companies of a smaller size so that they can benefit as well.
Yeah, so how do they get more utilization, and what's the kind of the offering for them as well outside of enterprise, which is a brilliant question. Looking forward to our guest's answer to that. You've been listening to the Alldus podcast, part of our ServiceNow series. My name is Mark Kelly, Chief Customer Officer at Alldus International, and we've been speaking with Oliver Stöckl, VP of EMEA at Brightfin, and Ollie's been giving us a little bit of his journey from now, some of the work that he's doing, how he listens and really approaches customer conversations to understand the problem they're trying to solve at that time, and then how to build on extra capability to help and support, particularly within complex organizations. We also talked a little bit about the importance of mentorship and bringing people into community and just knowing what you want to get results from that when you're actually reaching out to people for advice and support. And we also talked finally about a question posed about how we can actually utilize ServiceNow for mid-market and really kind of give them massive customer success when they go about doing that. Ollie, thank you very much for your time today.
Pleasure. Thank you so much, Mark. Have a good one. Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Alldus podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any Android podcast of choice. You can also head over to our website, www.alldus.com, to listen to more podcasts, view our open roles, and stay up to date with industry news. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more great episodes coming very soon.